series. And when I came across this passage, the Lord just, kind of opened this to me in a kind of a new light and a new way. And I got really excited when I saw this, and I said, I'm going to call Pastor and ask him if he would let me share it with the church because it blessed my heart. The passage I'm going to read is going to be in Genesis 32 from verse 3 down. This is, if you don't know the background of the story, this is Jacob has been out in Mesopotamia living with his uncle Laban. He is now returning back from there, from the Ur of the Chaldees, back to where he came from, back to a country where he was a stranger and a pilgrim, but nonetheless he knew that God promised them that land. So he's on the way back, and he's remembering his old sins. And he's remembering that his brother, his twin brother, whom he deceived and stole the blessing of the firstborn from him by lying and conniving. He remembered his old sins, and he said, I'm approaching Mount Seir here, and my brother is there, and certainly he's going to hear of this huge crowd and huge flocks coming his way. He's going to know that his brother Jacob is coming, and he vowed to kill me. He vowed to kill me. So Jacob is getting very uneasy. He's getting very uneasy as he's approaching Edom, as he's approaching land of Seir. And we'll read from verse 3. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, Thus shall ye speak unto my lord Esau. Thy servant Jacob saith, Thus I have sojourned with Laban, and have stayed there until now. And I have oxen and asses, flocks and manservants and womanservants. And I have sent to tell my lord that I may find grace in thy sight. And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, We came to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. And he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels into two bands, and said, If Esau come to the one company and smited, then the other company which is left shall escape. And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord which says unto me, Return unto thy country and to thy kindred, and I will deal well with thee. I am not worthy of the least of the mercies and of all the truth which thou hast showed unto thy servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become two bands. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and smite me and the mother with the children. And thou saidst, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. So Jacob here, we find him in a very, very low spot in his life, very low time in his life. A time of stress, fear, distress, fearing for his life, fearing for the lives of his wives, his children. He says he has two bands here. He had so much possession. It took a lot of servants and a lot of everything to keep all that up. It was like a small traveling city. Maybe not a very small city, but I don't know how many people he had with him. But all that meant nothing, because here's his brother, a very angry man last he saw him, who very angrily vowed to kill him next time he sees him. And he's coming with 400 men. Apparently didn't want to chit-chat much with the embassy that Jacob sent unto him. And they're coming and said, hey, Your brother's on his way, and he's got 400 guys with him. I can only try to imagine that type of distress that Jacob was in. But this is a very low point in his life. Terrified of his brother, whom he tricked. No way to defend himself. This is not a he wasn't out there with a war party. This was a family moving. We've moved as a family. That's not a time to get in a fight with someone. Brother Kennedy, you've moved plenty enough as well. That is not the time you want to get in a fight with someone. You got packed boxes, you got dishes you're carrying. He had nothing. He could do nothing. He was up to his brother's mercy and the mercy of the Lord. And he prays a very beautiful prayer. He's reminding God of all the promises that God gave him. And though the prayer is a beautiful prayer, that's not the prayer I wanted to talk to you about. By the way, my message tonight, and I'm sorry, I know Pastor was going in alphabetic order, and you stopped at letter R, right? I skipped a few letters because I just had the name when I saw this passage, when I read this passage, I had the name vulnerability in prayer. Vulnerability. We don't like to be vulnerable. Do you? I don't like it. It's unpleasant. There's few people in my life that I open up to. There's few people that I can be completely vulnerable. I can be completely open and vulnerable with my wife. Pastors have seen me in my vulnerable moments. It's not pleasant though. It's not pleasant, especially for a man, for a husband, for a father. It's a very uncomfortable feeling. If you've been there, which I'm sure you have, you know how uncomfortable it is for us to be wide open. Wide open. No way to defend yourself. You got nothing. That's Jacob right here. That is Jacob. Y'all family to me. I'll be vulnerable with you. I've had a rough time. Nothing new happened, Pastor. Nothing new really happened. This is just constantly this pressure of this whole situation with the COVID, with the politics, with me not able to. It's just beating me down. So I'm speaking from the heart here, folks. Verses 22 through 31. Let's keep reading here. And he rose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 women servants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them and sent them over the brook and sent over that he had. And Jacob was left alone. And there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. Listen, the Lord touched his thigh and put his leg out of joint, and it says, and he wrestled with him as his thigh was out of joint. He wouldn't tap out. He would not let go. And we see a very different prayer here. Verse 26, he says, and he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. I'm not letting you go. You're all I got. I believe at this point in time, Jacob realized that he needed the Lord's blessing more than he needed to be protected from his brother Esau. Listen, I'm sure you've had physical injuries. Some of you have. If you had a leg out of joint, man, I've had some minor things like that, and it is painful. Painful. This man, with his leg out of joint, says, I'm not letting you go. There is no way I'm not letting you go except you bless me. He was determined. He was determined to get that blessing. Verse 27. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. Last time we read where it's recorded that when he was asked who he was, he lied. Last time he said, I'm thy son Esau. Now bless me, Father. Here he says, I'm Jacob. And the name Jacob means a trickster, supplanter, conniver. He says, Lord, that's what I am. I'm a Jacob. Listen, folks, you can fool me, you can fool the pastor, you can fool most of us here, you can probably fool all of us here. You're not going to fool the Lord. You're not going to fool the Lord. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for as a prince thou hast power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, wherefore is it that thou dost ask us after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And as he passed over Peniel, the sun rose upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. So like I said, the first prayer, very elegant, very beautiful. Prayer was about, God, protect me, defend me from my brother. But then I don't know what happened between that first prayer and the second prayer. He refers to God in that first prayer as the God of my father Isaac and the God of Abraham. I don't know, Pastor. I don't know if that has something to do with it. I don't know if that's significant. I think it is. I think up to this point, the God of heaven was only God of his parents. I might be wrong, but that's what he says there. That's what he says there in that first prayer. Verse 9 is, and Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac. I don't know. Are we seeing here the pivotal point in Jacob's life, spiritually speaking? I mean, it's definitely a big pivotal moment in his life for sure. But is this his moment of salvation? I can't tell you assuredly, but we see that he had gotten a hold of something that he said, I am nothing without God. I am nothing without God. Listen, I can be protected I can have an army on my side that will protect me from my brother and wipe out his 400 men and send him running. I still have nothing without God. He's no longer asking for just for protection. I will not let thee go except thou bless me. He knew his trickery and conniving wasn't going to work in this point. He knew he couldn't trick God. And he wrestled till the break of day. Very few words spoken. Very few words spoken. But it's a powerful prayer. It's a powerful prayer when man realizes his current condition, when man realizes how vulnerable he is, how much of a nothing he is. I will not let thee go without that blessing. And like I said, no reason to lie to God. When God asked him, what is your name? He said, Jacob. I am that Jacob. I am that liar, that supplanter, that trickster. That's what I am. Now, God, if you can do something with it, but I'm done with it. Listen, when God asks you who you are, don't say a king when you're but a slave. It's not, listen, when God asks you who you are, it's not your cashier at Walmart when they ask you how you doing and say great and go on. This is not a formality. When God asks a question, there is meaning behind it. There is a reason God asked. What, did God not know his name? I guarantee you God knew his name. Why did he ask his name? He said, son, I want you to think about who you are. I want you to realize who you are. He said, I am liar. Nothing. I'm good for nothing. I've lied and cheated through my life. God, if you can do something with it. But I tell you what, God, I'm not letting you go unless you do something with it. I will not let thee go except thou bless me. Listen, God already knows who you are, knows the very thoughts of your heart. God knows there's been times that I've been on my face before him and I would say, God, my Lord, you know my heart. I'm angry right now. I'm upset. I don't understand why you're doing this. God, help me. I know you're the answer to my problems, but right now I just don't know what to do. Right now I'm just in a very low spot, Lord. It's okay. Tell him it's already in your heart. Share that with him. Be open with him. Be vulnerable. Open up your deepest secrets to him. It's okay. He already knows what's in there. He does. Believe me. He made the very mind that you're thinking with. On your knees, on your face before God. My dear friends, that is the best place to become vulnerable and open. Listen, your closest friend will judge you. God won't. God won't. Not for being honest, at least. God won't judge you for being honest. Tell him, God, I'm a mess. God, I'm a liar. God, you know my heart. You know what's in me. I got nothing. Well, what did that vulnerability in Jacob's prayer get him? It got him the blessing he wanted. 32:28 says, thy name shall be called no more Jacob. You're no longer a liar, a trickster, but Israel, a prince with God. For as a prince thou hast power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. My dear friends, when's the last time we wrestled in prayer all night? When's the last time we wanted something from God so bad? We wanted His blessing so bad. We wanted God so bad that we hung on to Him and said, I don't care if you hurt me, I am not letting you go. It was the last time we got really honest with God about who we really are. Got serious about wanting to be used of God. But we know that for God to use us, He's going to do some surgeries. He's going to do some operations. He's going to have to change us. Change Jacob. When was the last time a prayer life made a permanent impact on our life? This prayer did for Jacob. He walked over that brook and he limped, and did so for the rest of his life. He never forgot that prayer, I bet, Pastor. I bet he never forgot that encounter with God. Every morning as he would get out of his bed, that hip of mine, that thigh, I remember it, Lord. It was the last time our prayer made a permanent change in us. A couple years ago, probably about halfway through my deputation, I was getting so frustrated in trying to raise support. Get up in the morning, get on the phone, start calling pastors, churches, and it's like running into a brick wall. And I remember I was reading one night in my devotions, and I came across John 16:24. Jesus is saying to his disciples, hitherto have ye asked nothing in my name. Ask. Ask, and ye shall receive, that your joy may be full. And I said, God, I've been trying to tackle this work, your work. You called me into ministry. You called into missions. I'm trying to tackle this with my own personal strength. What am I, stupid? Don't answer that. And I made it a point that before I make a single phone call, before I write a single email, I get on my face before my Lord. Now, I mean really get in your face. And just spend as long as you need just being open and vulnerable and just pour out your heart kind of time, And I saw a change. First of all, you know what will change your attitude? You can't be vulnerable and cocky at the same time. It's just not going to happen. So vulnerability, as much as we hate it, as much as we run from it, I run from it. I don't know about you. Maybe you like, I don't know. I run from it. But I know one thing. When it comes to your prayer life, it is as needful as air. In the beginning, I said that I'm thankful this Thanksgiving season. I'm thankful for our nation. You don't have to be very smart to see that our nation is in a very, very difficult situation. We're in a mess. Just put it plainly and simply, we're in a mess. And I believe we, as Christians of this nation, Christianity of our country, is to blame. And I get that from Second Chronicles chapter 7:14. I know my time is up and I'm finishing up here though. And you probably quote this verse by heart. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves. Remember that word, humble. Humble themselves. Become vulnerable in your prayer. Open up and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. My dear friends, if we don't need a healing right now, I don't know what else we need more than that. This nation needs a healing. It breaks my heart. Breaks my heart that I've come to such a wonderful nation and to see it, to see people trying to destroy it in front of our very eyes. Blatant. Laughing about it. Burning buildings as they go. Listen, folks. Last passage, I promise. Ezekiel 22:30 and 31. Again, another familiar passage. And has sought for a man among them that should make up the hedge and stand in the gap before me for the land, that I should not destroy it. But I found none. My dear friends, I'm wondering if the Lord is not looking at this nation right now. I'm wondering if He's not looking for that man to fill that broken gap, to fill the broken hedge, to stand in that gap like Moses did. God, don't destroy them. Hey, destroy me. Kill me. Leave them alone. And Moses stood in the gap and protected the children of Israel from the wrath. God is looking at this nation today. I believe so. And He's looking for someone to stand in that gap, for someone to make up that hedge. And here in Israel, He said, I found none. Therefore, I have poured out my indignation upon them. I have consumed them with the fire of my wrath. Their own way have I recompensed upon their heads, saith the Lord God. My dear friends, we should be praying. Listen, I know there's a lot of complaining. There's a lot of fussing going on about how things are in this nation and what party is doing what and what was not being done is what's being done. Oh, listen, just stop. Stop. It's not going to do any good just to post rants on Facebook or wherever you post them, or just to, it's not, listen, stand in that broken hedge and do what the Lord told us to do there in 2 Chronicles. Because if instead of us being humble, we've become the epitome of the Laodicean church. Proud. Oh, we have everything. I said something to someone about one time about America, the church in America being half asleep. And they got offended. My dear friends, that's the epitome of the Laodicean church. So, instead of praying, I think there's just playing going on. Instead of seeking God's face, we just seek the American dream. And really, most people are upset with the situation in the country right now because they fear it'll be harder to make the next dollar. Instead of turning from wicked ways, we enjoy them. And we twist God's word to make it fit our lifestyle, to make it fit our theology. We've reduced God and Bible to just an easy religion. Just a nominal thing. Yeah, I'm a Christian. I'm a Baptist. Hey, I'm Baptist. God help us. I'm done, folks. I pray that the Christians in this nation, and I do pray that every time